Hello everyone, my name is Austin, and hey, today we're going to be talking about Earth and the state that it is in, right? In 2021, we had about 7.8 billion people on this planet, right? And, that's almost 8 billion people on this very Earth. Yet, the Earth itself is becoming more and more uninhabitable every single day. And do you know what the reason for that is? There are many contributing factors to Earth slowly dying, but I feel, right, in my personal opinion, the biggest contributing factor for Earth's demise is climate change. What is climate change? Climate change refers to long shifts in temperature and weather patterns. Essentially what this means is that over time the Earth slowly changes temperature, and in the case of, recent climate change, it refers to the Earth slowly warming up. And the biggest reason for Earth slowly warming up is because of us, humans. Now, don't get me wrong, climate change can happen naturally, but through the recent years, right, of the Industrial Revolution and just overall us humans increasing production and slowly destroying the environment because of smog, carbon dioxide, and all that stuff, right? We're turning this small and slow moving phenomenon into a big and quickly acceleration, right, of Earth just warming up at a fast rate, and it is destroying everything. And if we want to know how to stop climate change from overtaking everything, we first want to know what causes climate change. Now, the main cause of climate change are the greenhouse gases, like water vapor, nitrous oxide, methane, and the most important one out of the bunch, and the most dangerous one out of the bunch, CO2, carbon dioxide. And let's talk about that, right? Carbon dioxide in particular. So, carbon dioxide is not essential. It's not bad on its own, right? We as humans, animals, and stuff like that, we breathe in oxygen and we exhale CO2, right? Carbon dioxide in itself is not a bad thing, but what happens? What happens when you have so much CO2, so much carbon dioxide from stuff like factories, cars, air pollution, all these contributing factors, right? This excess CO2 that's coming from industrial stuff. Guess what happens? All this CO2 comes up to the air, right? Comes up to the air, and it just destroys the ozone layer, right? It's the ozone layer is the thing that protects us from the sun's UVs and helps kind of keep the Earth's temperature at a relatively decent level. CO2 comes up to the air like a greenhouse, right? It slowly absorbs the sun's energy and slowly warms the planet up, hence the name greenhouse, right? It just takes in the sun, absorbs it, and just slowly warms up the Earth. These recent years, right, because of all this greenhouse stuff, these recent years have been some of the hottest decades, right? Not that kind of hot, but actual hot, burning, right? Burning and sweating. The Earth's temperature, average temperature has risen in an acceleration, right? It has increased dramatic, and that is a serious problem. Now, of course, CO2 is the main cause of the greenhouse gases and overall climate change. Other sources of contributing factors to climate change include cutting down forests, manufacturing goods, powering buildings, and something in particular raising animals, right? Raising farm animals. Another one of the greenhouse gases to worry about is methane, right? Methane comes from farts and stuff like that. It comes from gases that come out of animals. It's kind of funny actually thinking about it. But in essence, methane gas is this gas that we release when we eat something. It's wild. But you have so much animals producing so much methane gas that it's kind of funny until it's not funny anymore. It's producing so much methane that it, with carbon dioxide, traps the ozone layer and corrodes the ozone layer, and that is also one of the other factors, right? That warms up the sun. That is terrifying to think about. You're telling me that the Earth warms up through animal farts. That's horrific. That's something that we do not want. Okay, so you're probably wondering. We know some of the big hitting factors, right? Some of the big players in climate change. Why is it so scary? Why is it so dangerous? Well, the obvious issue of climate change is that Earth is going to cook us alive. But what are some other issues with climate change? An issue that I would like to talk about is the increased sea level, right? The rise in sea level. Essentially, what this means is that we are gonna get, obviously, the sea is gonna rise to a dramatic rate. If we're talking about in like an ecosystem level and stuff like that, have you seen those like nature documentaries where like polar bears, for example, and like seals and stuff like that, like all the ice is melting and they have nowhere to go and stuff like that, and the sea slowly starting to rise because like all that ice and stuff like that. It's dangerous, right? But also to like a community level and more on like the economic side of things. Like all the coastal areas, right? Like Florida or like Texas, like Louisiana and stuff like that. In the US, I'm talking about the US in particular, right? Like California, like all the states that are bordering like the oceans and stuff. Like we're just gonna see a lot of like flooding and a lot of stuff like that. And maybe in inland and somewhere like that, you're gonna get a lot of droughts and stuff because like all the water is gonna evaporate. The sun's just gonna beat on that means we're not gonna be able to make food, and that's gonna increase poverty. And like obviously with increased climate change and stuff like that, that's gonna lead to a lot of like storms, like tropical storms, hurricanes. Like it's gonna change everything, right? It's gonna change everything, and that could lead to like, for example, like displacement, right? People are losing homes because all these storms are affected by like the climate change, right? Like there are just many like severe problems that can come out of climate change, and the worst part of it all is by 2030. If we don't change something by 2030, climate change is irreversible, right? We cannot change the Earth's temperature by 2030. So we have to fix it, or otherwise the world will go into ruin. Everything will go into ruin. We have exactly 7 years before the Earth goes into absolute bad. Like things will happen very, very, like, it's not good. Okay, it's not good. So, what are we doing to help stop climate change? Obviously, these past couple years, right? The last decade or so, we have been partaking in the act of making renewable energy, right? Because for the longest time, ever since the Industrial Revolution, we have always been using non-renewable resources, right? Fossil fuels. This includes coal, petroleum, gas, stuff like that. And, these past couple decades and, right around last decade and, I guess this decade, right? We have been partaking in energy, right? And like renewable energy. This includes solar power, wind power, geothermal, hydropower, all sorts of stuff like that. A lot of companies have dedicated their time and energy to improving, the world, right? I know Google in particular, they're always bragging about how much by like a certain date they're gonna go carbon neutral. Like for example, like if we go over to my screen over here, Microsoft, right, has like a feature where you can lower your carbon footprint by applying these recommendations, right? By like turning your screen off or allowing your device to sleep, it helps improve your carbon footprint, right? Stuff like that. Like obviously Tesla, like with their electric cars, and like solar power being really popular these these past couple years as well. Like overall, like we are making improvements, right? We are making improvements to like making this world as like clean and as wonderful as possible. There needs to be a lot of work done though, right? There's a lot of promises, there's a lot of like tiny steps that can help, but overall, if we really want find a way to like help reverse this climate change by 2030, before 2030, then we need to take more steps. My name's been Austin, and thanks for hearing me out. I'll see you guys next time. Bye!